The speaking market today is just fascinating. Of course, with the pandemic, there's been a huge rush to figure out virtual. What's been great for Jonah and I is we've been doing virtual for years and years, way before the pandemic. We were doing virtual for times we couldn't be at the same place at the same time, and we were also doing it because we always like to stay in the forefront for our audiences. Now, I will say it's been really troubling watching the transition into virtual because there's been a lot of presenters that just take what they do in the physical world and then do it virtually. And it just doesn't work. We've loved studying the virtual market, and what we find is breaking the fourth wall where we send things to our audiences, really studying how much should we speak, when do we let them speak, and all those things, because if we stay on the cutting edge, our audiences just deserve that.
And we do know that people will one day gather again in person, but we also know that virtual will forever be an option. We've already started exploring the hybrid model where we have people in person and virtual.
And again, we stay on top of techniques like that so that we can give the best to our audiences. When I started studying the generations in the 90s, I always wondered, would it stay relevant? Would companies still care? And here I am over 20 years later, still talking about it because the topic is so relevant. I think the most frustrating thing to me is when a company will say something like, oh, we talked about generations last year. Okay, the topic is not a one and done. Every company has generational issues. You could be talking about recruitment, retention, management, diversity and inclusion, marketing and sales, customer service, you name it. Each of them have a generational component because how one generation views that topic is radically different than the other.
I love the generations conversation, and it's especially exciting right now for me because it's my generation, Gen Z, that is getting a lot of the attention. That being said, there are still leaders in nearly every industry that are taking people under the age of 30, they're clumping us in a big group, and they're assuming we're millennials. Well, in fact, Gen Z is very different than the millennials, and as a new generation starts to show up in the workplace and the marketplace, it is so important for leaders to be ready to innovate and adapt.
Because the generations are in motion. Baby boomers reinventing retirement, Gen X, we're now the sandwich generation, millennials, they aren't kids, they have kids, how are they juggling it? And what's Gen Z gonna do with their career? One thing is for sure, this topic is not going away.
When it comes to understanding the generations, my dad has taught me just how important it is to have best-in-class research. Now, we understand that there's a key difference between reading someone else's research and having your own primary research. For all of our ongoing research capabilities, we've partnered with NORC at the University of Chicago. From their process to their sample sizes and all the other things that my dad likes to geek out on, they are truly second to none. We also understand that there's a key difference between just having data and being able to analyze it and what it truly means.
And that's again why we love to partner with the University of Chicago. They really help us unpack this data and apply it to our various customers. And right now, research has never been more important. Every single customer is asking us, well, is it still the same since the pandemic? So all the data that you've had around recruiting, retaining, managing, or even marketing to different generations, everyone's wondering, does it still apply? And so we really took the time to run all our research again and find out what has changed. And that's again why we've decided to lean in so heavy on research.